employees, members. Share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations. A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, November 2nd, 2018, getting into, well, you know, we just got past Halloween. We've got Thanksgiving coming up, and then Christmas, and then New Year's. This is the holiday season. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Which is just one more marketing opportunity after another, after another, after another. Anyway, it is Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. And we've got a lot to talk about today. Claire will be joining us in hour number 3. Our phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. So let's just get right into it. First of all, a reminder, and I know you're going to hear this from everybody, but as a public service from What Really Happened in Republic Broadcasting, we're going to nag you that daylight savings time ends this weekend, which means you have to set your clocks back 1 hour when you go to bed on Saturday night. And of course, we don't do that here in Hawaii. We're too close to the equator. So what it means for Claire and I is we actually get to sleep an hour later in the morning before we do the radio show here. They don't do daylight savings time in Arizona also. And in this age of electric illumination, I really do think it's kind of silly. I remember when California tried to run daylight saving time all year round, and of course this resulted in kids going to school in the dark. And it's a good example of politicians mucking around with things just to prove that they can do it. And I love that old Native American comment that only a white man could cut 2 inches off the bottom of a blanket, sew it on the top, and think he's got a bigger blanket. So, anyway, good old days of living in farming country. You get up when the sun comes up, you go to bed when the sun goes down. By the way, there is some really nasty weather forming in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas. Heavy thunderstorms and tornadoes. So if you're in that part of the country, keep an eye out. Stay safe here. All right, let's get into our local politics here. Apparently, Judicial Watch has now sued the FBI over their failure to preserve the text messages of well, everybody connected with the McCabe case. And of course, it wasn't a failure to preserve. They're deleting this stuff. Okay. I'll deal with that later. Just messages from the control room. Do I need to repeat anything, Mike? I guess not. All right. So anyway, Judicial Watch has sued the FBI over failing to preserve the text messages of former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Now, the FBI was claiming that text messages are not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Judicial Watch filed suit to ensure the text messages were being preserved while that issue was being sorted on out. So they're going back and forth. Basically, it's another FBI Stonewall. They're clearly acting like they have something to hide. There's no question about it. And in terms of the public optics, that's why people don't trust the FBI anymore. They don't have to know any specifics of what's going on. The FBI, and for that matter, many other branches of the government, like the Department of Justice, they're acting sneaky. They're acting like they've got something to hide. And the court of public opinion does not function like a court of law. We, the American people, are free to make our own opinions about what's going on in this country. And a lot of people definitely do not like it. All right, so we're coming up here on the midterm elections next Tuesday, and both sides are predicting victory. Although a body language expert looking at Obama during his campaigning is saying it looks like Obama doesn't think the Democrats are going to do very well. Meanwhile, on the other side, Maxine Waters is already talking about being the chair of the Financial Committee after the Democrats take over the House. So we'll see what's happening there. And again, the wild cards are how much election fraud is taking place, and they keep finding more of it, especially down in Texas, and how many illegal immigrants are going to get away with being able to vote. So those are the wild cards, because polls cannot take that into account. This is really an act of desperation. A bunch of Democratic women basically did a nude photo shoot, part of a campaign to urge people to vote against Republicans in this election season. And it goes by the name #GrabThemByTheBallot. And that is desperation on the cusp of madness. And I got to tell you, from all my days working in advertising many years ago, and I won some pretty cool awards back then, I know what I'm talking about. If you're going to use nude women to sell a product, you want to use nude women that people are going to want to look at, to put it delicately, gently. So anyway, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network here. Apparently down in Tennessee, somebody hung an effigy in a tree, was dressed in a costume marked GOP, and underneath was a sign indicating the candidate Marsha Blackburn, but it was X'd out. And so it's caused a little bit of outrage. I mean, just imagine if it had been Bathhouse Barry hanging in a tree. But it always seems like, it's terrible when it's done to the Democrats, but we do to the Republicans. That's just normal stuff here. There's a video, was posted to Twitter, and we linked to it. And it again shows just how unhinged the left has become, because in this video, this leftist is losing the argument with some Republicans she's trying to convince, and she winds up pouring her drink on them, and then starts screaming at them that they're normalizing and enabling Nazis. Ooh, Nazis, 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 Nazis. And how are the Republicans enabling Nazis? Well, by supporting Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis, of course. I mean, any leftist is going to understand that linkage, that connection. Okay, there's a new hashtag out there in social media world. It's hashtag Lexit. And apparently this is a movement for Latinos who are deciding to exit the Democratic Party because after all the years of promises, the Democrats never deliver. And their policies have basically been failing the community. Now, getting back on over to Robert Mueller, we're still hearing the situation where he's being accused of a rape that took place back in 2010, and he's out there screaming, oh, these women are being paid to smear me. It's a smear job. And it's kind of funny to see the very same people who were insisting that Brett Kavanaugh's accusers had to be taken at face value, even if there was no evidence. The accusation equals guilt, and they're lining up to defend Robert Mueller and saying, oh, these women, they're trailer park trash, they're sluts, they're this, they're that. And apparently there is, in fact, some corroboration to back this up. But apparently the woman's name is Carolyn Cass. She was named by Tim Pool, and there does seem to be some real genuine smoke there. And if you look at Robert Mueller's past, this is not a moral guy. And again, think back to Mueller's connections to the Whitey Bulger case. The FBI put 4 innocent men into prison and kept them there to protect Whitey Bulger as their informant, at the same time that he was a major kingpin in organized crime. And Robert Mueller was up to his neck in that. Just like they're keeping Leonard Peltier in prison, just to save their own embarrassment. I mean, Whitey Bulger is now dead. Are they going to let these 4 innocent guys out? Oh, no, 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 no. That would be an embarrassment to the agency. And when J. Edgar Hoover was in charge of the FBI, the #1 rule was never embarrass the agency, even if it means killing innocent people and locking innocent people up. We never embarrass the agency here. Over at the New York Times, they are launching a propaganda campaign in an attempt to sanitize George Soros ahead of the midterm elections. That is going to take a lot of cleanser. And apparently Soros plowed some of his money into the New York Times, $3 million. He bought $3 million worth of stock holdings. And now the New York Times is writing a series of puff pieces that Soros is just this misunderstood philanthropist who's being unfairly maligned by right-wing extremists and arms of Russian propaganda. Oh, no, that's the Washington Post that called me that. I mean, if you know anything about George Soros, this guy could be a villain from a James Bond movie. He is obscenely wealthy in the billions. He loves to destroy world financial markets. He made much of his initial money by basically crashing the Bank of England. He was born Jewish, but he collaborated with the Nazis to steal from Jews in World War II, and now, of course, he's trying to take control of American politics. Now, for a lot of years, Soros operated out of the public view. He used his money to create these front groups, these agent provocateurs, so he could influence events without it being linked back to him. Soros' money is behind Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and other similar groups. But because of the independent media, what Soros is doing is coming to light, and the public is now aware of it. So, there we go here. Now, proof that the Democrats are funding the immigration caravan. We're going to talk about the immigration caravan. James O'Keefe's Project Veritas, they did it again. This time, they were filming campaign staffers for Congressman and U.S. Senate candidate Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke, apparently using campaign resources to help transport Honduran nationals traveling in the Central American caravan. And O'Rourke staffers Dominic Chacon and Anna Paula Themen admitted to facilitating transportation to airports and bus stations. And by the way, This is an absolutely illegal use of campaign funding. But it does document, yeah, the Democrats are at least partly behind all of this here. And just to show you what a farce this is turning into, migrants from Honduras in one of the caravans that are marching through Central America have filed a class action lawsuit against President Trump and his administration to block him from securing the border against the thousands of migrants heading to the U.S., claiming that by enforcing border security, this is a violation of their Fifth Amendment right to due process, which is to come into the United States and then apply for asylum. I mean, that's how bizarre this is really getting. Now, I mean, can you see the irony here? Can you see the irony? I mean, the instant they set foot in the country, these are criminals. And now all of a sudden, they're concerned with the rule of law. And if that were true, they would seek asylum through the proper channels of entry and not just try to overrun the border. This is absurd. And unfortunately, if their class action lawsuit gets heard, like at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, they may actually get away with it. And as I keep saying, this is a test of Donald Trump and his administration. He has basically, bet his reputation on stopping these migrants. And there are now several of these caravans underway. And they're being funded partly by the Democrats, and I have no doubt by George Soros. Soros is trying to do to the United States what he did to Europe, flood it with refugees and just wreck the place, wreck its identity, wreck its sense of culture and history and identity. That's what this is all about, blending us all together, putting all the humans in the world into just one, big box and shaking them up, get them all stirred up and blended together, and then dumping them back out, and then expecting they're all going to get along, which so far has not worked out very well. So Trump better deliver on this. And he needs, this is another case, he needs to put on those presidential brass knuckles. Okay, Donald Trump, of course, is out there campaigning for the midterm elections. He's traveling all over the country and talking to a lot of people. And apparently, during a rally in Estero, Florida, President Trump came on out and said, the Democrats are encouraging illegals to break our laws so they can sign up for welfare and the right to vote. Well, they can't sign up for the right to vote. They have to just vote illegally until they become citizens. But Trump went on to say that a win for Democrats will send a bright, flashing invitation to traffickers, smugglers, and gang members all over the world to come to the United States, and Trump is bang on right about that. Our border security is a joke. And the Democrats, the liberals, created this problem. And anytime anybody says this is out of control, oh, you're being a racist. Oh, you're a horrible racist. I'm not being racist. Illegal is not a race. Then they'll come back and say, well, there should be open borders. There should be no restriction. Well, go ahead, change the law. There is a process for that. I mean, basically, the Democrats are sending out a message to everybody, not just the illegal immigrants, but to everybody in the country, including, sadly, our young people. It's okay to break the law. If you don't agree with it, if you don't like it, it's okay to break the law. We're going to let the illegals vote. We think that's a bad law. We're going to let the illegals vote. Well, I don't agree with that no parking sign, so I'm going to park here. Guess what's going to happen to my car? It's going to get towed. We are heading into a period of lawlessness that is being inspired and encouraged by our political leadership, right alongside the calls for violence. Sure, break the laws. Doesn't really matter. We're just here to win at all costs. Meanwhile, over at Fox News, Shepard Smith is trying to calm things down because the Democrats know the immigration issue is a loser for them. And Shepard Smith is out there saying, there's no invasion. No one is coming to get you. There's nothing at all to worry about. It's just a tempest in a teapot. Really, you should be thinking about how wonderful Obamacare was when you go to the midterm elections. So, now a lot of people are still going on and on about the 14th Amendment and whether or not it actually does grant citizenship status to a baby born on U.S. soil of parents who are here illegally. And Ann Coulter did a wonderful analysis of this, basically saying that in point of fact, the law is actually very clear on the issue. And the court cases saying that basically no, because illegal immigrants are foreign nationals. They're not under the jurisdiction of the United States. But apparently Justice Brennan put a footnote on his decision which said there really isn't a difference between whether they're under jurisdiction or not. And that's what the liberals have seized on to claim that the 14th Amendment grants U.S. citizenship to anchor babies. Now, more about this issue when we come on back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about the migrant horde. We're talking about illegal immigration. And at the moment, we're talking about this analysis done by Ann Coulter. Now, I don't agree with everything that she says, but she did a good job on this one. And she illustrates the point of her story with a little bit of history coming from Stockton, California. And it goes like this. Cristobal Silverio came illegally from Oxitlan, Mexico in 1997 and brought his wife Felipa plus 3 children aged 19, 12, and 8. Felipa gave birth to a new daughter, her anchor baby named Flor. Flor was premature, spent 3 months in the neonatal incubator, and cost San Joaquin Hospital more than $300,000. Meanwhile, Felipa's 19-year-old daughter Lourdes plus her illegal alien husband produced their own anchor baby, Esmeralda. Grandma Felipa created a second anchor baby, Kristen. The 2 Silverio anchor babies generated $1,000 per month in public welfare funding. Flor gets $600 per month for asthma. Healthy Christian gets $400. Cristobal and Felipa last year earned $18,000 picking fruit. Flor and Christian were paid $12,000 for being anchor babies. Now, in the Silveria's new hometown of Stockton, California, 70% of the 2,300 babies born in 2003 were anchor babies. As of this month, Stockton is $23 million in debt. That's what's going on out over in Southern California. The number of anchor babies being born is larger than the total birth population of the 14 smallest states in this country. It really is completely out of control. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because apparently over at MSNBC, there was a reporter who was out there doing interviews of people, and he was interviewing Hispanics, basically expecting that he was going to get the Hispanic community to say, oh yes, open the borders and let them on in. And he found quite the opposite. He found Hispanics are supporting Republicans, supporting border controls, and opposed to illegal immigration. Now, to me, that shouldn't be a surprise, because the Hispanics who are here legally don't like being blended together with all the illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants, the MS-13 gang members, the welfare cheats, are making the Hispanic community as a whole look bad. And the Hispanics who've come here legally and who've built themselves good lives, they resent it, and understandably so. So there it is here. Okay, let's talk about the war zones. Well, it finally happened after 17 years of war. The top U.S. commander in Afghanistan is admitting the Taliban cannot be defeated, the Afghanistan war cannot be won militarily, and peace will only be achieved through a political resolution with the Taliban. And this is coming from the commander of NATO's Resolute Support. General Austin Scott Miller provided NBC News with this very candid assessment of this never-ending conflict. And it is, except for the Korean War, which is still technically ongoing. This is the longest war America has ever been in. It's longer than World War I and World War II put together. And what the Taliban is simply going to say is, you know, take your government and get out. We lost this one. This is a defeat for the United States of America, because the Taliban is not going to continue to put up with a government that panders to the United States of America and is openly tolerating the presence of opium. Remember when the Taliban was in charge of Afghanistan after the Soviet Union withdrew, the Taliban realized opium is bad, heroin is bad. They banned it. If you were caught with an opium poppy, they'd take your hand right off. A little draconian, but it worked. Soon as the U.S. took over and El Presidente de UNOCAL, Hamid Karzai, was installed as the U.S. puppet president, the poppies were blooming everywhere. It was just poppies, poppies, poppies. And the opium poured into the United States, into the pharmaceutical industries, which is why we now have an opioid crisis on our hands, as well as an increase in street opium, street heroin. And it also poured into Russia, and Russia is not happy about that either. So the Taliban, I don't think, are going to agree to any deal that does not allow them to create their own government, which is, of course, what the U.S. is hoping to impose. We're going to have a peace deal. You know, we're going to pretend that the war is a draw, which it isn't. The U.S. has been losing badly. Back in 2001, the Taliban were all but eradicated, and now they're controlling the majority of the land in Afghanistan. So we lost this one. Got to face up to facts. We got whipped for fair on this one. We'll be right back after these commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to aroutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at aroutfitting.com.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers in New York.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking about Afghanistan. We're talking about this General Austin Scott Miller, who's a U.S. commander. He's in charge of NATO's Resolute Support Mission in Afghanistan, basically saying they can't win militarily. And Afghanistan has a reputation, the graveyard of empires. Britain had to learn that one the hard way. The Soviet Union learned that one the hard way. And now the United States has learned that one the hard way. The last military commander to completely conquer Afghanistan was Alexander the Great, and he only held it for 3 years. It's a tough place. And this is obviously not only a major setback and embarrassment for the U.S. and for NATO, it's going to put a strain on the relationship with NATO itself, because basically NATO is fighting wars decided on by the United States. Oh, come on, NATO, we're going to go whip on these people now, and we're going to go whip on these people. And after this development, these other NATO nations are going to be saying, maybe it's not such a good idea. And if we couldn't deal with Afghanistan, are we really ready to take on a military peer like Russia? So this is going to have ramifications, and I have absolutely no doubt that by next week they're going to be back saying, oh yes, we can win in Afghanistan, and we're just going to have to send more of your money and more of your children. And when we bury Afghanistan under 50 feet of $100 bills, then we will have won the war. Okay, let's get on over here to Syria, because it's just getting more and more bizarre here. Apparently, the Syrian army has discovered another ISIS depot filled with U.S. supplied ammunition. Ooh, imagine our shock here. I remember way back when the corporate media was telling us ISIS were the bad guys. They were the enemy. They were cutting the heads off of kittens and occasionally people. And now we have more confirmation that ISIS was actually working for the United States all along. So, yeah, more ammunition discovered there. And apparently there is a Turkish newspaper report that is saying that ISIS in Syria is receiving weapons directly from the U.S.-led coalition. The Turkish Yeni Şafak newspaper revealed on Halloween it had obtained several documents which proved that ISIS received weapons and ammunition directly from the U.S.-led coalition. And apparently, witnesses saw the U.S. handing over weapons to ISIS in the town of Al-Mansura, west of the city of Raqqa, and in the area of Al-Tanaf near the border with Iraq. Now, this is nothing new. There have been reports of witnesses to U.S. Arming of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, airdrops of supplies, evacuations of ISIS commanders when they get surrounded by the Syrian army, and of actually getting in the way of the Syrian army when they're trying to encircle ISIS and Al-Qaeda, basically creating an escape corridor for them. So that's out there again. Russia is once again sounding the warning that the White Helmets are preparing for a false flag chemical weapon attack in Idlib. And my presumption is it will happen right after the midterm elections are over, because both parties don't want to talk about the war. They don't want the voters thinking about the wars, because wars are an election loser. That's why you're not seeing any of this stuff on the corporate media, and you haven't for a month. They want the American people to forget that there are all these wars all over the place, because that's going to change how they vote. But Russia is sounding the warning here, and again, to find out if you're being lied to, look for what should be there and isn't. And what isn't there is a reason for Assad to do something like this. He's all but won the war. He doesn't need to use chemical weapons. And if, in fact, he was going to use chemical weapons, why not use them on ISIS and Al-Qaeda? Have you ever noticed it's always women and children who are being hit with these chemical weapons attack to maximize the emotional shock? Oh, that dastardly Assad, he's gassing women and children again. He's gassing his own people. Really? Why would he do that? What possible reason? He's got nothing to gain and everything to lose. It gives the U.S. Basically a red carpet to come back into his country and mess things up. It doesn't make any sense. Well, Assad's a crazy man. That's you can't expect him to actually make sense and think logically and rationally. After all, he's Syrian. Syrians are crazy. I mean, the excuses and the propaganda just get more and more extreme, but it really does come down to that. The U.S. has every reason to fake a chemical weapons attack, and Assad has absolutely no reason to use chemical weapons, even if he had them. And the Russian intelligence is very good on this. They're basically saying terrorists with the Turkestani Islamic Party have transferred 20 containers, each containing 10 liters of chlorine from Ma'arat al-Numan. Okay, there's a bad translation here. Basically leading to these provocations. And let's see. I need to do something here. All right, just give me a second here. We've had a little bit of a momentary technical glitch. All right, there we are. So let's get back to this. So again, please keep it in your mind, because when this happens, it's going to be all over the media, and I'm sure you're going to run into a lot of people saying, oh, how terrible. Assad is gassing these women and children, and these foreigners were involved. And just stop and ask yourself, why would Assad do this? He doesn't have a reason. And then remind them of the United States' long history of using false flags to start wars. Saddam's nuclear weapons. The Lusitania, oh no, it's not smuggling weapons to Great Britain. Spanish mine in Havana Harbor, torpedoes in the Gulf of Tonkin, on and on and on and on and on. How many times do you have to be lied to until you understand you are being lied to? And when this next false flag chemical attack happens again, yes, it is another USDA choice pile of bovine excrement. It's another lie. So, now over in Norway, as you know, they're in the middle of the largest Arctic drills since the Cold War. 50,000 troops, 140 aircraft, 70 ships, and including a U.S. carrier group simulating a response to an attack from somewhere in the north. They're trying to be polite here. And the Russian Defense Ministry is saying, we know who you're talking about. You're talking about fighting Russia for control of the Arctic, which now they know there's a lot of oil down there underneath the abyssal plains. Because there's nobody else up there around the Arctic that you're going to want to fight. So, are they really willing to go to war over the Arctic? Well, yeah, apparently there is a lot of oil down there. And what shades of Ice Station Zebra, really. Alrighty, Ukraine has closed the airspace over the Black Sea. It's going to be closed for the next, for the rest of the weekend, basically for live fire missile tests in the Ukrainian region of Kherson. And apparently Ukraine is now flexing its muscles and basically trying to intimidate, well, not so much Russia, but more like Crimea. Over in Israel, there's something going on here, and we're not entirely sure what's going on. Over in Ynet News, they're reporting that the Russia-Israel political crisis has deepened after the latest IAF strike in Syria. Now, they're claiming the strike took place more than a month ago after Russia blamed Israel for the deaths of 15 aircrew and intelligence personnel aboard an intelligence airplane that was shot down by the Syrian aerial defense. And then there was one more IAF attack that supposedly took place after the delivery of the S-300s. But German media are claiming that that attack post-S-300 didn't really happen. That Israel's just trying to look brave and save face and not back down from what is a very formidable system. So Germany's Contra magazine is out there saying that Israel's claim about conducting military operations in Syria after the delivery of the S-300 air defense system doesn't sound truthful. Israel keeps insisting the S-300s would not interfere with their ability to attack Syria, but in the space of over a month since, there's not a single media report on such an attack outside of coming from Israel's media. The Syrians certainly aren't reporting that anything has happened. All's quiet on the Western Front, so to speak. Now, Donald Trump has announced he's going to reinstate all the U.S. sanctions on Iran that existed before the P5+1 deal, targeting over 700 entities and individuals. And apparently, because of some resistance from the people running SWIFT about how difficult it may be to enforce this, Mnuchin is actually threatening sanctions against SWIFT itself, the transaction service. I don't think that's a very smart thing to do. SWIFT could turn around and say, all right, we're cutting the United States off. Find another way to get your money all over the planet here. Now, one of the reasons Trump is moving ahead with the sanctions were reports that came out of a couple of European countries that Iran was planning assassinations on their soil. Oh, my goodness, how dastardly of Iran to do that. Iran is spreading terror all over. Claire and I even heard it on the car radio this morning. We were out running errands where they were talking about Trump reinstating sanctions because Iran is using their money to spread fear and terror all over the globe. And both of us were doing this palm to forehead thing. Well, I wasn't. I was driving. And it's utterly ridiculous. So, okay, where did all this come from? Where did the claim that Iran was planning assassinations in Europe come from? It came, of course, from Israel. And Netanyahu is admitting that, yeah, Israel is behind Europe's new argument with Iran over murder plot allegations. At least this time he didn't have that stupid little cartoon bomb. You'd think the European leaders, after all this time, would be very cautious about listening to anything coming out of Israel. Maybe they data laundered it. Maybe they called up somebody in the country and said, just tell him you heard it from CIA or something. There's a lot of lying going on right now. But Netanyahu's now admitted it. It all came from them. Right now, there is an Israeli delegation in Riyadh meeting with Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And apparently, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is asking the United States to keep supporting the young prince against international criticisms and a potential coup d'etat. Now, the other day we were reporting that because Mohammed bin Salman has become so toxic after the killing of Khashoggi, that a lot of intelligence agencies were starting to basically back away from him and start looking at who might be replacing him. But Netanyahu wants bin Salman to stay right where he is because, after all, why this big deal about killing a reporter? I mean, Israel shoots reporters left and right down at that fence with Gaza. So, interesting little dynamic there. Okay, and meanwhile, back in the West Bank, things are going on pretty much as usual. Israeli settlers from the illegal Sha'are Tikva settlement dumped their raw sewage onto school property in the northern West Bank village of Azun Atma, southeast of Kelkilia. And this is coming from the principal of the Azan Beit Amin Secondary School. And apparently the sewage flooded the school courtyard and the playground, which of course resulted in this huge stink. And apparently this is the second time in 2 months settlers dumped their sewage on the village school. And he says it usually takes over 10 days for all this stuff to dry up. And meanwhile, of course, it's a health hazard for the students and the community at large. And this, is again, is a recurring pattern. The Israelis like to fling their poo at those they do not like. Okay, Brazil's new president-elect, Jair Bolsonaro, has announced that he will move Brazil's embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This, of course, triggered condemnation by the Palestinians and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which seems to be moving into the leadership more than Hamas these days. But according to Hanan Ashrawi, the member of the executive committee of the PLO, these are provocative and illegal steps that will only destabilize security and stability in the region. Yeah, that's very, very much true. But obviously, the president of Brazil is beholden to Israel, one way or the other, and he's now doing a payback. Now, yesterday we reported on how the United States was talking about coming to some kind of a way to stop the Yemen war within 30 days. And apparently immediately after that announcement, the Saudi Air Force unleashed a massive attack on the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, and just really uncorked them. Apparently they also attacked the area around the airport. So the Saudis are sending a message: no, they're not interested in peace, or at least not while Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is sitting in that center seat. So there could well be a coup d'etat, or, to be more accurate, an assassination. Coup d'etats are subject to political pressure, like from Israel. Assassinations, a little less so. We have to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on. and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. My wife and I both use Extendivite and are very pleased with the results. It has helped to stabilize our blood pressure and to make both of us feel healthier. Good product and good buy. So far, so good. I've been taking Extendivite 3 times a day, only a short while now, but already I've noticed the circulation in my hands and feet improving. They tingle. I like the idea of taking something herbal rather than pills. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, do you remember that photo of the starving Yemeni girl, 7 years old? It was used to illustrate a story in the New York Times, and it caused a bit of a stink over at Facebook because somebody posted that story with the photo. Facebook took the photo down. That triggered a backlash. Facebook put the photo back up. But it does illustrate just what it is Saudi Arabia, backed by the United States or working for the United States, is doing to these people of Yemen. Well, the sad news is that 7-year-old girl has died of malnutrition. So, don't it make you feel prouder than all heck to be an American? All right, let's take some phone calls here. Art off the grid, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, can you hear me all right?
I hear you just fine.
I didn't hear the beep. Hey, I'm Awful Gar Stern, Friday Bay American, don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeehaw! Seriously though, there's been a lot of talk about this 14th Amendment, but it's kind of like anything else out there. Everybody wants to weigh in and run their lip and do all this jaw-jacking about what the 14th Amendment means, but they fail to listen to the words of, those who actually crafted the 14th Amendment. And I'm talking specifically 2 individuals, John A. Bingham,
yep,
Senator Jacob Howard. Now, Senator Jacob Howard was the primary author of the amendment, and he gave a speech on May 30th, 1866, in which he said, now bear with me because this is really going to blow them all out of the water here. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not citizens of the United States. This amendment's intent has been so thoroughly discussed that I shouldn't even have to clarify it. I do not propose to say anything on that subject except that the question of citizenship has been so fully discussed in this body as to not need any further education, in my opinion. What's more, the amendment is only articulating what is already established law. The first is that the amendment to Section 1 declaring that all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. This amendment, which I have offered, is simply declaratory of what I regard as the law of the land already, that every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is, by virtue of natural law and national law, a citizen of the state. As for birthright citizenship, foreigners, and listen real close to the author of this amendment, ladies and gentlemen, foreigners and aliens born on U.S. soil are, of course, not citizens. This
Yep.
will not, of course, this also will not include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens.
Okay,
who
Art, I
belong
got to put
the
you on
families
hold.
of-
Art, I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for station identification. Do not hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after these few words.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're talking with Art Off the Grid. We're talking about the 14th Amendment. And Art, if you could just sort of pick up from where you left off.
Okay, he said, as for birthright citizenship, foreigners and aliens born on U.S. soil, of course, are not citizens. This will not, of course, include persons in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, those who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of person. Now, we take that, and we can also back that up by various statements by John A. Bingham, because basically he's just going to, I got 14 quotes of him verifying everything that Senator Howard just said. But interesting, there's a third individual named Senator Lyman Trumbull of Illinois, who was also a principal figure in drafting the amendment, who went on to further clarify what Senator Howard had already said as far as subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And this is what he said. Again, one of the authors of the amendment. Subject to the jurisdiction thereof, meaning not owing allegiance to anyone else. This excludes anyone who flies. Also, of course, Senator Jacob Howard of Michigan, who sponsored the clause, who went on to explicitly exclude citizen persons born of foreigners, aliens, or anyone belonging to families of ambassadors or foreign ministers. And by taking what they just got done in their own words, defining what subject to the jurisdiction thereof, this means if you fly a foreign flag, Honduras,
yes,
Israel, whatever, if you are a dual citizen, all of these people are eliminated from the protection of the 14th Amendment. Now, I don't know how much clearer this can be. And let's not forget, folks, the words of Harry Reid in 1993 on the floor of the Senate when he said, if making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with full citizenship and guarantee of full access to all public and social services this country provides. That's a lot of services. Is it any wonder, and remember this is 1993,
yes.
Is it any wonder that over 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayers' expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles alone are born to illegal alien mothers? That was 1993. How many years ago was that? You think it's gotten any better?
No, it's gotten a lot worse. Lot worse. I just got an email from somebody.
This is my argument right here to anyone who wants to argue what the 14th Amendment means. Let's take it directly from the mouths of the founders themselves, who explained in such detail what this means.
Well, it's pretty clear, not just from those speeches, but if you look in the congressional record at the debate surrounding the creation of the 14th Amendment, the same arguments are there as well. The intention was that the people, the parents, had to be under the legal jurisdiction of the United States government for their child to become a U.S. citizen. Again, somebody who is here illegally is obviously not under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government. Justice Brenner's footnote basically erred. He missed that point. By default, if somebody is here criminally, they're obviously not under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, because if they were under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, they would already be on their way back to the border. In any event, arguing about the 14th Amendment back and forth is becoming a little bit of a distraction. The issue is the border must be secured, and we have to have a common sense immigration policy.
And I wanted to comment on that real quick, and then I'll jump out, because believe me, I could go a long way on this. I could go on this for a long time. We have Donald Trump, and I agree with you. This is going to make or break Donald Trump. This one right here. This will decide whether he gets reelected or if he's a one-term president. He came out and he said rocks being thrown will be considered the same thing as a rifle firing a bullet. Now, we got a lot of people out there you can't do that. Wait a minute. Isn't that what Israel does? If you throw a rock at their soldiers, are they okay to shoot you?
Absolutely.
So if it's good enough for Israel, it's good enough for us.
Well,
thanks, Mike.
I have to be very honest. I don't agree with it either for Israel or for our border. And I think that the instant any one of these migrants gets seriously injured or killed, the liberals are going to run with it. They're just waiting for a bloody shirt that they can wave to scream foul. And so I am hoping that the military forces that are down there closing the border against all these caravans are going to use non-lethal methods, tear gas, LRADs, microwave area denial weapons, and just keep pushing them back. Make it a negative experience. The reason all these people are coming up here is they're being positively reinforced. And by the way, remember back not too long ago when anybody who said George Soros was funding the migrants was guilty of an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory? Soros has now come out and admitted he has put $500 million into this operation.
Well, I don't want to see bullets flying at these guys, at these immigrants either, unless they actually start shooting live rounds, because there are other ways of doing this. But my point is, it's okay when Israel shoots people who throw rocks, but the instant our president starts telling them, defend yourself, now it becomes an issue. Well, you know what? If you're going to make it an issue, if we do it, make it an issue when Israel does it, because you can't have it one way for this group and another way for another group. So it has to be equal on both sides.
Well, that would be nice, but it never is. Israel gets away with things that any other country on earth would be absolutely excoriated for. And it's becoming very, very obvious something has gone wrong with the rule of international law, because Israel is basically thumbing their nose at the United Nations and at the ICC, and they continue to commit these atrocities. And you're absolutely right. The hypocrisy is stunning. But we're supposed to just accept there is a double standard. It's okay to criticize Donald Trump for suggesting live fire ammunition be used against rock-throwing migrants, but it's okay for Israel to use butterfly bullets against rock-throwing Gazans.
Yeah. Well, a lot of words have been thrown out, talking about the Dred Scott v. Sanford case. And what people don't understand is, the 14th Amendment, yes, the 14th Amendment was passed in order to overturn that. But that was to make it, because this was all about the descendants of slaves being citizens. It wasn't about illegal immigrants coming in. And then they want to throw in the case of, Wong Kim Ark.
Yep.
About him. Well, you got to understand, you can claim whatever you want to claim with him, and that the 14th Amendment didn't apply to him, but actually it did, because his parents were here under a visa. Now, that visa put them under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, which meant their child became automatic U.S. citizen because they were under the jurisdiction.
Yes.
There is what people are not paying attention. It's all in the wording. And this is what people don't understand. It's all in the language itself. And it drives me absolutely nuts. These Congress critters who are supposed attorneys and constitutional lawyers and all of this, that, and the other, and they do not even understand the basic principles that these amendments were built upon. Because I tell people, when you look at the language in all of our founding documents, I don't care if it's the Northwest Ordinance, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, any of them, they were written with what would be termed the language of the day. And at that time, this language was equivalent to that of what would have been, in those days, a sixth grade education. Now, if you
wait a minute, Art, I'd have to put on the brakes here. It was written to hopefully be as clear and easy to understand by the general population. But the people who wrote the documents certainly had much greater education. Thomas Jefferson, exactly. Anyway, Art, I've let you go on about this long enough, and you're starting to repeat and recycle parts of it. So I need to let you go because we've got another caller who's been waiting very patiently. Before we get to that caller, though, I need to do a shout-out to our on-air affiliates who have rejoined our network. And also I want to mention that I got an email from somebody who is very familiar with this problem of anchor babies winding up putting a huge economic burden on hospitals because these illegal immigrants have absolutely no way to pay the bill. And he said in some cases, hospitals have actually been driven out of business by these costs. That's how bad it is. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Matthew in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I had a very unusual experience, a couple very unusual experiences in my life. And basically the latest one happened in 2005. And what happened was I did a whole bunch of simulations with these guys, okay? And it was the modeling for events.
Yes.
And recently, I've seen all these simulations going live, and I can tell you that you can name them all: Bataclan, Parkland, Alexandria Park, Santa Fe, Sandy Hook. There's a lot of them. If you want to go into each one, I can. But the simulations have gone live very close to the events have gone live very close to the simulation, except for Las Vegas didn't happen so close. But It's really incredible. It's so coordinated with the media too. I mean, the same shot. And anyways, I did not know. Now I remember hearing something about 1718, but I had no idea that these things would go live. And so I don't know what they wanted me for. Maybe they wanted me to as an events coordinator or a Manchurian candidate or something like that. But I went to all of these places, and I saw it. And I have a great photographic memory. When I see the shots on the TV, it's exactly like it's the plan, the model for the simulation. It's coordinated with even the media.
Oh, of course it has to be. Of course, but they still make mistakes. I mean, look at 9/11 when they reported Building 7 had come down more than 20 minutes before it actually happened. So even with all that planning, mistakes can get made. They have to improvise. Like when Flight 93 came on down, that one was supposed to be the plane that hit Building 7. But either the passengers or the cabin crew regained control of the aircraft, and it wound up getting shot down. And then they just had to improvise and just say, all right, we got to, bring down Building 7. They couldn't leave it standing because anybody going back on in was going to see the demolition charges.
Yeah, that's strange. I know.
Well,
yeah. Crazy.
I imagine there's a lot of planning going on, but even with all the planning, the government can sometimes do some really dumb things. So anyway, Matthew, thank you very much for the information, and we're going to let you go. The phone lines are now open, 800-313-9443, and I got a lot more news to get through before the lovely Lady Claire joins us at the top of the hour. The two Koreas have agreed to approach the International Olympics Committee and present a joint bid for the 2032 Summer Games. And as this cross-border reconciliation continues, the neighbors are going to send a letter to the IOC expressing their desire to jointly host the Games. And again, the two Koreas are coming back together. And I'm sure the U.S. is trying to figure out some way they can mess this up, probably by taking out Moon Jae-in. But yeah, good for them. Long, long, long overdue. Now, the other day, we had a little bit of a test right out here in Hawaii where the U.S. Navy basically wanted to test the new Standard Missile 3 Block 2A. So they basically fired an intermediate range ground-launched missile, ballistic missile, and they intercepted it by firing the Standard missile from the USS John Finn. And the U.S. came on out and said it was a success. And they probably did that because they've had so many failures. Here is the problem. The missile they shot down, a U.S. intermediate range ballistic missile, is itself a violation of the INF Treaty the U.S. was accusing Russia of being in violation of. So there's a little bit of an oopsie. They probably should have kept tighter lips together on that one. So let's talk about the economic news, how even though it's a Friday and traditionally the markets are massaged to have a happy ending, so the money junkies can have a relaxing weekend. The U.S. markets did end in the red, not dramatically so, but enough where people are still wondering what's going on. And there's now talk that the Federal Reserve may be forced to suspend rate increases because it's very obvious the two are linked. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what's been going on. The U.S. stock market is being driven up by the availability of very inexpensive money to buy. And so brokers will borrow a bunch of money from the Federal Reserve. They'll pump it into a stock, pump up its value, then sell that stock out, repay the loan back to the bank with the very low interest rate on it, and whatever's left over, that's their profit. A lot of pumping and dumping going on over at Wall Street. Now, here is something very interesting. Sweden, as you know, prides itself on being the most progressive country on earth, and they're definitely in a great deal of trouble for it. Sweden was out there basically pushing the totally cashless society. And they were saying everybody's going to be on plastic, it's going to be on the banks, there'll be no more cash. Mahi dictum est. Well, apparently it has not worked out very well. They've been pushing for the cashless society for years, and a lot of Sweden's bank branches have stopped handling cash altogether. But now Sweden's central bank has made a U-turn on cash and is now making it mandatory for all banks and financial institutions to offer cash services so that it does not disappear as a form of payment. Now, it may be that there were just too many problems with the electronic transfer system. We see that a lot around here. Or it may have been that certain criminal elements were putting pressure on the bankers to say, you got to keep the cash available. Or it may be that the bankers were just wondering just what it would be that they would tuck into the G-strings of the strippers in the future if the society went entirely cashless. Tuck in the little plastic card, I guess, or something like that here. Russia, as you know, has been buying a lot of gold, and right now they have bought 92 tons of gold in the 3 months to the end of September. This breaks the record set by the Soviet Union back in 1941. We'll be right back after these few words.
Extendivite, made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle, feeds our body with the nutrients we need to keep healthy. Just listen to what Arthur had to say.
I was just calling to tell you what a great product you have. I had used this about 10 years ago after I had congestive heart failure. And it fixed me up and got me going for the last 10 years. Lately, I've been having heart trouble again, so I placed another order because this was the only thing that ever worked. I just wanted to let you know that you have a great product. Thank you very much.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And we're going to go to the phones here to talk to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I feel sorry for that 7-year-old child from Yemen who died of malnutrition. Also, all the kids from malnutrition from the Iraq War in the 90s, and then recently in 2000, and the ones in Libya, and the ones in Syria, and the ones in Ukraine from the civil war we started from the coup. So we got a wretched government, people. You know, that's why we're aligned with Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Death by starvation is one of the most painful ways that you can die.
And these people don't care, Mike. I said it before. They don't care. They can't even fix the water in Flint and in New Jersey.
Oh, I'm sure they could. They just don't want to spend the money. You know, the technology is there to fix all these problems with this country, to redo the roads, to upgrade the bridges and the rail system. They just don't want to. They want to spend the money on war. They want to give it to Israel. They want to split up the rest amongst themselves.
Yep, they're sick. They're money junkies and psychopaths, you know, but what a sick, I mean, you know, like, what about the children? That's all we hear, right? Oh, yes. the migrants are coming, you know, the refugees, migrants, it's all about the children, you know? Oh, really? You know, I mean, what a scam.
Yes.
What a scam. These people make me sick, Mike. Hey, Mike, with Russia, I think they did this on purpose with the United States, testing the intermediate range missile, because you know what the saying is, do as we say, not as we do. These people flaunt stuff like this. So I wouldn't put it past them doing this on purpose. This was all pre-planned before. Remember, they put in the budget that was passed about doing research and development for new short and intermediate range ballistic missiles before all this stuff came out about Russia's broke the treaty and all that, which is a lie, because we broke the treaty with the ABM.
Yes.
And we broke the treaty with Iran. You know, so I mean, it's all lies. And you know, Mike, and I just want to mention real quick with the economic thing, Mike. I said it before. 2008 was basically the end financial system. 2008 was it. And you look now, they want to freeze the interest rates rising, even though they're small rate rises, like was it 0.25 basis points, right? It's like the minuscule. But yet, you notice how after 10 years, they still can't. It's broken. It's unfixable, and the debt is rising. You know, I mean, the system is broken and it can't be repaired, and they can freeze it or unfreeze it, but bad things are coming. You can mark my word, because it's unrepairable.
There's no question. Well, I disagree that it's unrepairable. It could be repaired if we had people in power who wanted to repair it. But what we have now are people in power who are perfectly happy with the way things are, because all the wealth of the country and its people are flowing into their pockets, and they think that's the way it should be. They absolutely go to bed at night, pray to whatever imaginary playmate in the sky they pray to, and say, yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. I'm obviously favored by the gods because all the wealth is coming to me. And everything that I did to get that wealth is obviously blessed by the gods. And there are a lot of, wealth is the sign of the elect. And so they're very happy with the way things are. So they won't fix it. It's not a case of it can't be fixed. They won't fix it because it's exactly what works for their interests, and more to the point, their addiction, because that's exactly what it is.
I mean, and then there was an article of like, those jobs are never coming back here, which we know those jobs are not coming back. We're in a world of hurt. Mike, do you realize what's $21 trillion? That's the official debt. But what about unfunded liabilities? Yep. Medicare, Medicaid. It's in the hundreds of trillions. And then, if you look at the interest rate on the debt, we can't even pay the interest. I mean, the interest rate on the debt when it's like $500 billion or something like that. I mean, it's just nuts.
That's all we're paying. That's all we're paying. For decades, the U.S. government has not made a payment on the principal of their own debt. They just make payments on the interest. It's an interest-only loan. But again, where do they get that money to make those payments? From you. And as the debt goes up, so does the interest payment, which means they have to take more money from you and give you less in exchange for it. You are now a slave to the U.S. government's debt.
And by them freezing interest rates, Mike, that means inflation is going to continue to rise, because that wasn't one of the reasons why they got to up the rates, is to bring down inflation. But it's going to be rising quicker than and you know what? Russia's good for buying gold. You know why? Because if you look back in the Soviet, they don't have no external debt. They paid the last of their Soviet Union, remember, not too long ago, their last of their debt. So they're in better shape, even though their GDP's officially is not like ours, and everybody over here lives on living our lavish lives, and you know what I mean. Like, they're in better shape long term, I think.
They definitely are. Okay, Dustin, I got to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. Airoutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to Airoutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And Mercedes-Benz is already running their Christmas season commercials. I mean, it's the 2nd of November. We just barely passed Halloween. And already it's Christmas. Got to use Christmas to sell product here. We're talking about that in a little bit here. We were talking about Russia's acquisition of gold. And a lot of countries are trying to acquire or reacquire as much gold as they can. Because they understand when the fiat monetary system comes apart, which is now pretty much inevitable, they're going to have a commodity on which to base a new currency. And that's why they're acquiring gold, silver, palladium, any commodity with a globally recognized value. And unfortunately, the United States and much of the West, Britain, France, they've gone the other way. Oh, they believe in that paper. The paper and the ink will reign supreme forever. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to bother having gold or anything to back the currency. The paper is forever. Well, they said exactly the same thing down in Zimbabwe and wound up carrying paper notes that said things like, well, this one says $10 billion. They had others that said $100 billion. And then it all started to fall apart. No, the paper currency is not real. It's just ink and paper. And its value is what people imagine it to be. And it can be manipulated by government and by the bankers, which is exactly what they wanted. Now, when the United States was first set up, of course, the coinage was the money. The metal in the coinage was the money. The paper notes were merely claim checks, so you didn't have to carry around a lot of heavy coins. You could carry around the paper, but the paper was not the money. It was a claim check for the money. The lawful money of the United States of America were gold, silver coins, along with nickel and copper. That was the money. And when you had that money in your pocket, it was yours to control. And nobody in the government and nobody in the banks could change its value. Now it's completely different. You can have a whole bunch of that paper in your pocket and its value can be changed overnight. That's actually happened, especially during currency wars where the government and the bankers devalue the U.S. currency, which means the next time you go to the store and you buy something that's made in a foreign country, the price has gone up. So anyway, Russia's buying gold. Now, Trump has apparently signed a new executive order targeting Venezuela's gold exports. He's putting sanctions on Venezuela's gold exports. I don't even know why we're supposed to be angry at Venezuela right now. But apparently, Trump has declared a national emergency sorry, not Trump, but there was a national emergency regarding Venezuela declared back in March 8th of 2015. And Trump, last September, issued a set of sanctions against Venezuela. And now Trump has signed an executive order sanctioning Venezuela's gold exports. And Trump's order blocks the property and interests of any person who operates in the gold sector of the Venezuelan economy or any other sector complicit in government corruption. So I think the intention here is to not allow Russia and China to buy any more of Venezuela's gold, to basically lock it inside Venezuela until the U.S. troops can show up, like they did in Libya. The gold for the gold dinar vanished when Gaddafi got killed. New York City has now joined the imminent bankruptcy club, and of course, it goes back to the pensions. And apparently, there is a $100 billion shortfall in the public pension system. And we know why that is. New York City, they're right in the heart of it. The Wall Street mortgage-backed security fraud, and everybody's saying, oh, these are great investments. They're AAA pension funds can invest in them. And New York bought on into it. They got burned along with the other pension funds. And nobody in those Wall Street firms who perpetrated this fraud ever went to jail for it. Yes, Lehman Brothers did go out of business. But the major financial pain for this fraud when it fell apart was transferred to the American people, either directly through TARP and quantitative easing, or indirectly through the fact that our pensions are now defunded, for those of you who do have pensions. And we're already seeing the managers of pension funds telling people, we're not going to be able to pay you the full amount we promised. And apparently the laws are now being changed to say it's okay for pension fund managers to basically cut back your payment if they don't have the money. Well, they don't have your money because the money junkies got it. Paid themselves huge bonuses. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for small children, but there is this movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, which is based on a true story. And it may be a little over-sensationalized and over-dramatized, but I've had a lot of people with connections to the financial center saying it's not too far off. And then there was that other documentary. It actually won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Documentary. It was called Inside Job, that talked about the Wall Street mindset that led to the 2008 meltdown. They're fraudsters. They're crooks. Bernie Madoff, Enron, the Crooked E. Jesse James was right. The real outlaws are the bankers. The Federal Reserve's quantitative easing unwind has now hit $321 billion. That is a lot of money. The United States will issue over $1.3 trillion in new debt in 2018. This is the highest amount since the depths of the recession. They're just borrowing like crazy and spending like crazy. They're spending like there's no tomorrow. And you know something? They may actually be right. Over at Apple Computer, they are trying to discourage analysts and pundits, Wall Street types, from focusing on the number of iPhone sales as a metric for the worth of the company, because iPhone sales are slowing. The days of record iPhone sales are over, especially when you have handsets costing $1,000 in this economy. So Apple is saying, stop obsessing over how many we are selling. What Apple really needs to be doing is looking at a way to produce a handset that actually does have significant advantages over the current generation at an affordable cost. And there's the problem with any new technology. When the iPhone first came out, it was revolutionary. There was nothing else like it. And everybody wanted one. But each succeeding iPhone, the degree of improvement over its predecessor is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The only major difference between the iPhone 10 and the 7 I have on my belt right now is that facial scanner, which has issues. And it may be a little faster and have a little bit more memory, but unless you're a techno geek, that's not really attractive, not for $1,000. I'm one of those people, I'm going to use a product until it absolutely cannot be made to work anymore. And I'll give it proper and honorable recycling and grieve and mourn and get a replacement. So, I mean, the only reason I'm on the iPhone 7 instead of its predecessor, the iPhone 5, was that Claire's Android phone inadvertently went for a swim. And when we were over at the AT&T store getting her a replacement, they just made us this wonderful offer where we got the new phones, a couple of free iPads, and a lower monthly bill. What's not to like about that? So we're very happy with that. Out in California, home sales are plunging like it is 2008 all over again. The warning signs are there. It's going to be another real estate bust. Homes are going to be underwater on their mortgages. People are going to walk away. Wall Street didn't learn anything. Or what they learned is they can make money doing this. And by doing it again, they can make more money. Because they don't pay the costs of it. Ordinary Americans do. Alrighty. Getting on back to my comment about the Mercedes-Benz commercial, the Christmas time commercial. There's going to be a really big push for the holiday shopping season. In fact, I'm expecting the Christmas decorations to go up at our local mall any minute now. The holiday stuff is already up at the big box stores, and I'm already in full Grinch mode. But apparently, there are 8 major retailers for which this holiday season will be make or break. If they don't do well, they're going to disappear. You have the major department store chains, Sears, JCPenney, Neiman Marcus are ailing. Strip mall stalwarts Kmart, Bed Bath & Beyond are struggling to lure customers. And then you have mall retailers like Claire's and Charlotte Russ. They're all on the edge. Retailers are showing signs of suffocation. 17 have defaulted on their debts since the start of 2017, including Sears, Payless, GNC, Route 21, Bon-Ton Stores, and David's Bridal, according to S&P Global Rankings. Now, they're going to go on out there and they're going to say, oh, it's the online shopping. Amazon's just taking it away from us. The reality is, as well as Amazon appears to be doing, and they are doing well, but they are a tiny, tiny fraction of total consumer retail spending in this country. The problem is that consumer retail spending overall is way, way down, even for Amazon. Because the American people no longer have the ability to trade their labor for decent wages and salaries. Americans are just struggling to get by. And as a result, they don't have money to go to the shopping malls and buy things. Certainly not from a high-end store like Neiman Marcus. All of these retailers depended on repeat traffic, that the same customers would keep coming on in and keep buying, and more to the point, overbuying. All a man really needs is one belt to hold up his pants, right? But the business model is, oh, he's got to have several in different designer colors. And you've got to have multiple pairs of shoes. Well, most people are now settling for much smaller wardrobes, much smaller accessories, much less frippery, as it were. And because these stores were dependent on this overconsumption model, they're now in trouble. I don't think this is going to be a good holiday shopping season for these retailers. Again, because the American people don't really have any money to spend. And you're going to be exhorted to get out those credit cards, and plunk them down, because after all, it's not a real Christmas unless you max out the plastic. Probably a lot of Americans are still paying off the plastic from last Christmas and the Christmas before that. And you really shouldn't do that anyway, especially with the economy tightening up the way it is. You should be trying to get out of debt. You may want to think simple for this Christmas. Homemade gifts. You know, make up a bunch of Christmas tree ornaments and send one to each of your relatives. They'll like it. They're not expecting a VCR because they know they can't send you one. I have one relative in particular where a Christmas ornament is the traditional gift every year. She's very happy with that. Got quite a collection now on her tree. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Mark in New York. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey there, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I had earlier this week, Leland, I believe, from Canada called in, and she talked a little bit about hate and stuff. And I remember earlier in the week, too, the social media, after the bombing, was bringing up the Charlestown incident. And I was remembering how she was talking about it. I wanted to call a day or two ago, but here I am talking about it. And I mentioned, and I was thinking about it when I was talking to them on my social media, that, you know, this Charlestown thing, I posted things saying that it may have been staged. It may not have been. It was wrong what this guy did. This is the guy that drove into the crowd.
Yes.
And I mentioned that also there were articles about that maybe it was a Hillary Clinton aide that invited the white supremacists in, and also invited in the Antifa, or Antifa came in response to that. So it was messed up. You know, bottom line, what he did was wrong. He's going to go to jail. Well, my thing was, but for what? Is it going to be a hate crime, or would it be road rage? Because I just looked up now online. It's easy to find articles saying that he was driving along fine, and then the car got approached from behind. There's some video frame that shows somebody approaching, then he took off. So for either way, so I don't know. On the left, they're saying that the white supremacists that just drove into the crowd. And I'm thinking, well, if I was in a brand new car, because here in New York, if you give somebody the finger when you're driving, he might just follow you to a corner or to a light and pull out a gun. I mean, every summer you hear in the metropolitan areas, you're always hearing about people getting shot for the smallest things, for getting cut off. It's road rage.
My understanding...
Now, this guy...
Sorry to cut you off, but we're almost out of time here. My understanding about the Charlottesville incident is that people were pounding on his car from behind, and that he basically was trying to get away from the crowd. And that's how this all came about. But like everything else that happens in this country, everybody is trying to spin it to their political advantage. Anyway, Mark, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We got one more caller waiting on the line, and the lovely Lady Claire coming in at the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page, and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Do you or someone you know suffer from chest pain, blood pressure, cholesterol, or irregular heartbeat? Are you looking for a more natural solution to overcome these health challenges? You hear the ads all the time. If this stuff's so good, why doesn't my doctor prescribe it? That's easy. Doctors are not trained in natural medicine. Extendivite Heart Tonic does want you to be as healthy as you can be, and it really works. Take Extendivite for 6 months and your doctor will say, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. It's working for you. Get the dependability of Extendivite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phone lines to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I appreciate you taking my call. A little while ago, you were talking about the economy, and you're waiting for them to start putting up the Christmas trinkets in your local mall. Mike, 3 weeks ago, they already did it up here. 3 weeks ago. I couldn't believe it. It was in Canadian Tire. Anyway, another thing you mentioned was, people should get themselves out of debt. And you already know this, and hopefully a lot of other people understand it, but in a debt-based society or debt-based monetary system, if you get out of debt, or if everybody tries to get out of debt, the money supply is going to shrink to the point where, it's over. It's all over.
Yeah, if there's no debt, there's no money supply. That's why we need to go back to the system this country was started with.
Yes, and the only thing that will fix it is to have that currency backed by something.
Yep.
It has to be backed by something, so they can't just play their games and inflate it all away. I mean, I haven't been in debt in a very, very long time, and I'm just one person. But capitalism is not about going to the bank, getting a loan, and then going out and starting a business. Capitalism is about having the capital to do that to begin with. It's not about a bank loan. So we are so far from reality that, Mike, the only way this will be fixed is with some kind of massive crash where they cannot just paper it over. And it's coming. Every time we have a recession, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, they tripled the debt. The world debt has tripled in 10 years, less than 10 years. What are they going to do next time, Mike? It's insane.
Well, the problem is the bankers see themselves as our lords, because it is operating like back during the medieval time. If you wanted to do anything, you had to get the permission of the lords. Today, if you want to do anything economically, you have to go to the bankers and grovel before them and say, please, your lordship, may I have the money to start my donut shop? Yes, it's going to crash. And the problem is that if the bankers are allowed to create money out of thin air, even after losing it all, it's only a matter of time before they're back in control of the world.
Well, I mean, hopefully not. But Mike, do you have any idea? Have you ever come across any literature where it basically says like how far into the future this debt has gone? I can't imagine what it would be.
Well, it's going until the sun swells up and eats this planet, because the debt keeps growing and growing. So obviously there's never going to be a point where it starts shrinking back down to the point where it can be paid off. Russia succeeded in paying off their debt, but that's because Putin took control of their central bank, which is pretty much when Russia went from being our good buddy to being on the does not get a Christmas card list.
The G8.
Yeah. Anyway,
I got kicked out.
Al, got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification, and when we come on back, we'll be joined by the lovely Lady Claire. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting next to me is the lovely Lady Claire, who, as always, joins us in our third hour on Friday with her unique perspective on the world. So, Lady Claire, what's the first thing you want to talk about?
Well, it was a very interesting article, and it asked some very important questions about what is going on in the U.S. and beyond, because it seems as though society is fragmenting and, fraying itself completely apart. And the author was asking some questions and posing that there are a number of causes: technologies like social media, smartphones, economic stress, which has become chronic for a lot of us, greater mobility, and a host of more subtle factors. And he's talking about the erosion of community seems to be happening with state or government corporate structures taking over.
Yes.
And he was referring to a very insightful essay, and it appeared a couple of years ago as a report from The Guardian UK on what happened when Walmart left a low-income rural community in America's coal countries. And to this author, one of the most unfortunate findings was that Walmart was the hub of that community.
The social hub.
Yeah, and it was,
it's where people went. Well, shopping malls tend to do that as well.
Yeah.
But if you look throughout history, there has always been a center of the community.
Yeah.
In medieval times, it was that cathedral. And if you look at the surviving towns from that period, there'll be the cathedral, and everything is sort of built around it. Then, as religion began to decline and trade began to grow, the marketplace became the hub of the community, and the cathedral or church was set off more to one side.
Yeah.
So it is an ongoing evolution. But as far as the issue of civility, I mean, all communities, regardless of where the hub has to be, there does have to be civility, whether it's the church, town square, Main Street, the shopping mall, social media. But I think what's going on here, it goes back to something I said earlier in the program, that our society is being encouraged by our own political leadership to not just be uncivil, but to ignore the law.
Yeah.
That's the message the Democratic Party is setting on out, and young people, I guess, are paying attention to it. If you don't agree with the law, you don't have to obey it. Illegal immigrants shouldn't vote, but we're going to let them vote anyway. And so I think when you have that breakdown of these the rule system, that tends to encourage people to just start acting like they're their own little sovereign empire, if you will.
Yeah.
We seem to be in a period where rudeness is now seen as a sign of personal status, and again, we get that from people like Maxine Waters, you know, who's out there shouting, get in their faces, you know, harass them at the restaurants, which is very uncivil behavior.
Absolutely. But this concludes with the concept that the general zeitgeist was a near total dependence on the state and corporations, not just for income, but also for the structure of everyday life.
Now, that is very interesting. Of course, I get my structure of everyday life from you.
Okay. I hope it's generally a pleasant one.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
I mean, the structure of our lives, there are always outside influences. And again, church, certainly your place of employment. And I have mentioned many times before, there's very little social interaction at the community level here. Now, I did get emails from other parts of the country saying this did not apply there, but I bemoaned the fact that this last Halloween, Claire and I both dressed up, and if you'd seen my commercial, it was a lot of work to put it together and put it on. And we had, I think, maybe 20 kids show up.
I think 20 is a generous count, honey.
Oh, yeah, I think about 20 kids. And a lot of the other homes around our little courtyard area were dark. A lot of them just put out a bowl of candy out front, and that was it. It was like, don't want to be involved, don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah, but this is a landmark of community, the whole trick-or-treat tradition, where you literally see these kids you've known because parents have lived in the same community.
Yeah.
You get to see them grow up a little bit every single
Along
Halloween.
with get-togethers on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's a big part of the community thing. But all of these holidays, where we would normally be using them as hubs for our community experience, they're being turned into marketing. And I understand that one of the reasons we didn't get a lot of kids trick-or-treating at our homes is they were having these big events at the shopping malls. They were hyping the fear about, oh, there are people out there with poison and child molesters, and you should bring your kids down to the shopping mall where we'll give them some treats, as well as show you all kinds of advertisements for things that you will buy this coming Christmas.
Right.
All right. We're going to do a shout out now to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. So, what is your next story, my dear?
Well, it's a story that I knew a little bit, but it's come back into the news because there is a tremendous risk involved. And this risk is that honeybees, which pollinate plants, are at risk from Zika pesticides. Now, some of you will remember this Zika virus, which can cause horrific brain defects in unborn kids.
Allegedly.
Theoretically, is spread by mosquitoes. So the insects are being targeted in the southern U.S. where Zika-carrying mosquitoes tend to live.
Okay, well, here's what's going on. First of all, the honeybees are in decline.
Yes.
No question about it. And fingers are being pointed all over as to what the cause is.
Mhm.
Cell phone towers have been blamed. GMO pollen is known to be detrimental to benign insect species. Nicotinoid pesticides,
Right.
And so forth. As far as Zika is concerned, that was another case of shifting the blame away, because Zika has been around for a very long time, and it has never before had this problem of creating microcephalic babies in pregnant mothers.
Right.
The problem was all of these mothers, and I think it was down in Brazil where this happened.
Yeah.
There was this sudden outbreak of these deformed babies. But all of these mothers had also taken part in an experimental vaccination program.
Oh my gosh.
But that all got hushed up, and
Yeah.
everybody said, oh no, it's Zika. It's Zika did. Blame the
Yeah.
Zika.
Yeah.
And that in turn, of course, tripped off all of this massive pesticide spraying everywhere that mosquitoes were going to be found, which actually did wind up causing more harm to the honeybees.
Yeah.
It's like the further they go with their mendacity, the more damage they're causing.
And they call the syndrome colony collapse disorder.
Colony
right?
collapse
Yeah.
disorder.
Mhm.
And it is a threat to the natural production of food. Of course, for companies like Monsanto, that would actually be a good thing if the honeybees went away, because then you'd be forced to buy their pre-pollinated seeds at a small markup.
Yeah. And researchers are warning other states that are less well prepared than is Florida to organize measures such as warning beekeepers before spraying. I mean, that makes total sense. But at the start of their research, they found out that there was a beekeeper who was caught absolutely unawares and lost all of her bees.
And as somebody who kept bees briefly in my youth, it takes a while to build a hive.
Yeah.
It's not like you can go down to the bee store and buy a bunch of bees, bring them back in, put them in the hive, and they'll be happy there.
Yeah.
They have to be basically attached to the queen. The queen has to be attached to the hive. There's a whole ongoing process of basically looking for a queen who has left her former hive, capturing her, putting her in the new hive, and at that point, other workers will be attracted to join her. So, but it is a serious problem. There's actually talk about building flying robot bees to simulate the pollination process. But again, our science and technology is leaping ahead faster than our wisdom to know how best to use it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's driven by commercial financial interests. We're going to make money with this. Who cares if it's harmful? We're indemnified. Let's just get it on out there.
Yeah. It is a difficulty. I want to talk a little bit about Amazon, because some documents have come up about how Amazon is shaping public discourse about a software program called Recognition with a K, where the C normally is. And apparently yesterday, activists affiliated with immigrants' rights groups, NWDC Resistance and Mi Gente, donned Jeff Bezos masks outside Amazon's Seattle office to protest the tech giant's collaboration with ICE. And they demanded that Amazon stop marketing and selling its face surveillance technology Recognition to ICE and other law enforcement agencies. Now, this has come on the heels of new revelations about how Amazon works with law enforcement around facial surveillance worldwide.
Well, here's what's going on here. When this whole open borders nonsense began, the illegal immigrants and the refugees were literally being met at the borders and spread out through our entire country. We've even had some of them flown out here. The idea being to make it impossible to identify the illegal immigrants in order to deport them when they fail to show up for their court hearings or they fail the application for amnesty or what's the other word I'm looking for? Never, it'll come to me, I'm sure.
Okay.
So this system, if it is in place and deployed across the United States of America, I understand people's concerns about privacy.
Yeah.
But it looks to me like somebody is in fact getting ready to basically start tracking down all these people who are not supposed to be in this country and get them on out of here. And I have to agree with that part. And obviously, these people who are doing the protesting are part of this George Soros open borders, one world government, where they're pushing this idea. Everybody has a right to step across the border into anywhere that they want.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to take a slightly different position from you on this. I think it can ultimately be very successful, but at the same time, I would want normal legal process.
As soon as I can. All right, thank you. Oh, I hate technology.
The wonderful world of live radio.
Okay, but we are still going on YouTube.
Okay, great. Now, I know that you've mentioned this before, but I was kind of surprised at President Trump's wanting to sign an executive order limiting birthright citizenship. Now, Mike, can he do that legally?
He can, but a careful analysis of the 14th Amendment, as we mentioned earlier in the show.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that children born of illegal immigrants do not qualify under the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
Because the 14th Amendment specifically says the parents have to be under the jurisdiction of the United States.
Yeah.
And
now, what do you think are going to be the repercussions if he actually does this?
The liberals are going to scream bloody murder. This is obviously building up to a crisis. It's a major issue for the election. The Democrats are very unhappy because polls are showing Americans overwhelmingly want the border secured.
Yeah.
And so that's why Trump is keeping this issue front and center during the campaign. While the Democrats are desperately trying to get people back onto Obamacare and men being able to use the women's restroom and stuff like that. So,
do you think if he does this, that such an executive action will wind up going all the way up the Supreme Court?
It could. Hang on a minute. I got to kind of focus on what's going on here.
Okay. All right. Mike, if you don't mind, I can continue our conversation.
Please continue here.
Now, we had something happen with the LA Times, and this, honestly, folks, is from the Department of You Cannot Possibly Make This Stuff Up. Now, the LA Times has an English language version and a Spanish language version, which I think is great. But what they did, it's the same newspaper, with a mainstream version in English and another version in Spanish, cover the same geographical area and communities and endorse different candidates for the same federal, state, and local elections in each language. I mean, this is just absolute insanity. And here are the recommendations by the LA Times and the Los Angeles Times en Español. The English version of the LA Times suggests you re-elect U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein because she comes from a more civil and productive era of governance. I don't know exactly what that means, and has accomplished a great deal like that. The editorial cast doubt on the effectiveness of her challenger, State Senator Kevin De Leon, who seems unwilling to compromise. But then in the Spanish version, they have a completely different take. According to its editor, De Leon is the best choice because he seems pragmatic and effective enough and knows the immigrant community best. And after all, Dianne Feinstein has been a senator since 1992. And the article goes on, a generational change is needed.
Okay, well, we're going to basically resynchronize with our
Okay.
RBN broadcast
All
because
right.
we're back here.
All right, good.
And let me just hit this. And we should be back on the air. Says it's connecting.
Okay.
There
All
we
right,
are.
good. Yes.
All right.
And I
there's
mean,
there's the music. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Got to wait for the music to go away, and
right.
we're back on here.
Okay.
Okay, folks. Sorry about that. You've probably heard that commercial from John Stadmiller asking you to please donate to RBN because our equipment is in really bad shape. And in this case, I have a computer that is basically running Twitch, and it seems to be having a kind of a power issue right now.
Oh, dear.
And I don't know what's going on with it, so I may have to be replacing this machine over the weekend here.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, it's giving me fits here. I hope we can finish the show here.
I do too.
All right.
I can't understand what the Spanish editorial board and the English editorial board of LA Times were thinking to present completely contradictory information on candidates, one in English, one in Spanish, that are absolutely mutually exclusive. LA Times, please get your stuff back together. There's a community out there that really does need you. Thank you very much. I'd like to go now to a part of the world that's another kind of tinderbox, and that tinderbox is Ukraine. And it will be next spring, and Ukrainians will be choosing between Poroshenko and Tymoshenko in their presidential election. And Poroshenko won the election in May of 2014, promising peace, which he could not keep because of Ukraine's weakness and internal problems, and the West's insufficient reaction to what they call the Kremlin's hybrid war methods, whatever the heck that is.
All right, we got to take a break for commercials
Okay.
here. I'm still working on this machine. I think it's basically about to give up the ghost here.
Oh, dear.
We'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you one from Amazon.com. I just wanted you to know I saw my doctor and I laughed because he said, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." I have been taking Extendivite. I had borderline high blood pressure, heart flutter, high cholesterol. I changed my diet and included Extendivite with an amazing turnaround for the better. A few months later, I had a doctor's appointment and took a stress test. I passed. No heart flutter, blood pressure was perfect. My doctor even took me off my medicine. I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. This stuff works, and I'm so grateful for Extendivite. Thank you, Justin G. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal?
Are we there?
We're just.
Really
I'll let you know when it's okay to talk. Okay, it's okay to talk.
Okay.
Welcome back to our show here, and we think we're going to be able to finish today's show here, but it is very, very obvious that this computer on which I run my Skype and my Twitch, it's definitely failing, and I'm going to have to get a new machine over the weekend and throw that in there. So it's an annoyance, but again, it's like Stadmiller said. We're running on flat tires. The gas tank is empty, and because the liars get all the money.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, no question about that.
Yeah. All right. So please continue where you left off.
Okay. The most experienced among Poroshenko's rivals is Ms. Tymoshenko, who has thus topped opinion polls ever since the first half of 2016, because Ukraine has had a really lousy economic couple of years, and there seems to be a lot of graft and corruption. But apparently Poroshenko's team has started in August and got him up in the ratings in September. Now, apparently this guy has swapped camps or been the figurehead for so many political parties that it would make your head spin. He started out as a social democrat, became the Oligarchic Party of Regions, later joined the Orange Revolution camp of then President Viktor Yushchenko, briefly served as a government formed by the Party of Regions, and finally won the 2014 election, apparently as a liberal. But if he wins the next election, it will be the victory of a nationalist. And this may not be the greatest choice for an unpopular president in a country at war with daunting enemies for more than 4 years. And I'm saying daunting enemy, and the unnamed is obviously Russia, who this article is trying to, vilify.
Yeah.
And the slogan of his re-election campaign is Army, Language, Faith. And it essentially sums up his presidency's achievements. Now, the military has gotten stronger. Its finance boosted from a 1% to 5% of GDP, with assistance secured from U.S., et cetera, and the IMF, I believe, right?
Yes.
And this month, Ukraine's parliament, dominated by Mr. Poroshenko's allies, gave preliminary approval to new linguistic legislation that aims to discourage the use of languages other than Ukrainian, and particularly in the media. Now, this is a real big kind of turn for him.
Yes, it is.
And last year, the Verkhovna Rada approved, which is their parliament, approved a new education law whose language provisions, unfortunately, cost Kiev problems with Hungary. It was not great. Now, Mike, we've been hearing musings from Poroshenko and a little bit from the NATO itself about the possibility of Ukraine becoming part of NATO.
Yes.
Now, if it does that, how do you think that's going to have an effect on the election next spring?
I think that it's probably going to work in Putin's favor. Putin is already out there talking tough about, having to fortify the defenses on Russia's border. Because of this continuing encroachment. And we actually have a caller on the line right now that wants to talk about this, and that would be Fred in Iowa. Aloha, Fred. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yep. Yeah, hello, Claire. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing rather well. Thank you for asking.
Well, good. Hey, Claire,
Yes.
I live in a small town, and there's a lot of the Ukrainians and Russians, and I talk to them as often as I can.
Okay.
And I've attended their church twice, and which is not my church, but they had interpreters for me, and two young men, and I'm telling you, I got treated super well. But I've had discussions with them. In fact, my next door neighbor is Ukrainian, and I talk to people in their early 20s to 40s, 50s, and 60s. Older people can't speak the language not very well, and I wish I could speak Russian. But anyhow, they know, they are very aware of their government and what it is doing, just as I talk about our government and what they are doing, and what governments are doing around the world. These are aware people, and I'm a gardener, and why I talk to begin with a lot of Ukrainians and Russians, because they're darn good gardeners, and I've got a lot of good tips from them. But these people are informed like Americans should be more. RBN listeners are pretty dang well informed, but they know not only their government, they know this government too, and they know governments around the world. So if people could get together and not be so damn polarized.
I hear you.
Yeah, well, that gets back to that civility issue. Anyway, Fred, we're going to have to take a break for commercials, and thank you very much for the phone call. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at libertystickers.com. Again, that's libertystickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? Always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. And I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just...
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and take it away, Claire.
Okay. This is also from the Department of You Cannot Make This Up. There has been an horrific crime wave in London, so what does the government in London decide to do? Hire hundreds of 150 pounds a day anti-racist police monitors to promote diversity? Are you kidding me? Police chiefs in London are going to spend almost £1 million extra per year hiring 200 anti-racist community assessors who will make sure recruits in the crime-hit capital hold positive views of minority ethnic groups. And they are being told by the Metropolitan Police Chief, the skills you possess are highly prized. For a job that requires no qualifications, job history, or life experience, and an appreciation of diversity issues, and that the applicants have lived in London for 3 years. And I'm looking at this from the Daily Mail, and yes, it's a tabloid, but oh my gosh, this, folks, comes to us from the country that gave the world the Magna Carta. I am having a double Picard faceplant upon reading this. Mike, what's your take?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, and again, this is all coming out of this George Soros globalism. We're going to shove everybody together. And the result has been all over Europe as well as Great Britain. Shoving in all these refugees has created a crime wave. But the pressure is now on to basically try and gloss it over and make it look like it's no big deal. It's the new normal. We have to have tolerance. You know, they come from a different culture, so forth and so on.
Then I think that these people who may be a certain minority need to be educated as to what can't be done here, because the numbers coming out of London are just hysterically bad. There has been a murder rate surge of 44% amidst a sharp jump in violent crime. Mike, that's almost unheard of.
Yeah, well, again, the problem is that this migration process is a filter. We're not getting the best people from those source countries. You know, we're getting people who are fleeing prosecution, carrying contagious diseases, who are criminals in their home country, and of course they're going to be criminals here. And they're not interested in being told what they can't do. They want to just live the way they lived before, plus all the free stuff that they were promised to come to Europe or Great Britain or the United States. And it is an absolute disaster. And Soros and his New World Order people are behind it all.
Yeah, you know, I feel very lucky and very blessed that Mike and I live on Oahu, because it's a beautifully diverse state. My church is a rainbow church. You've got everyone from every background you could turn your tongue to. and people treat each other nicely and kindly. And a lot of my friends at church are very liberal, but I really think in my heart of hearts that if I were to sit down over a cup of tea and talk with them about the differences and why they exist, no one would hit me over the head, and I wouldn't hit anyone over the head, just because our ideas might be different.
Yes.
And that, I think, is the mark of a very civilized culture, when those kinds of dialogues can move forward. And so I sometimes complain about lack of musical
Okay.
capabilities.
Keep talking.
Okay.
I got to deal with this.
All right.
This is not holding up.
Okay. But I'm very blessed to be here, because even if people have completely opposite views, they can be civilized about a destruction and see the points in the other person's point of view. Now we need to sort of bop back over to the Middle East, because apparently Saudi-led forces have conducted mass strikes on the Yemeni capital and beyond, in spite of the U.S. calling for a ceasefire. And they've carried out a series of airstrikes against what they call legitimate military targets in Sana'a and elsewhere across Yemen. And several days after senior U.S. officials called for a ceasefire. You know what I can't understand? And the death of any journalist / spook, yes, Khashoggi was both, is cause for alarm. But the hundreds and thousands of innocents who have been slaughtered, babies, mothers, medically fragile elderly people, people in hospitals.
Okay, Ken, I hate to interrupt you,
That's
but
okay.
I'm not sure that we're going to make it to the end of the show here.
Okay, all right.
We've got a caller on the line here,
Okay.
Richard in North Carolina. Aloha, Richard. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi. I'm just calling because I I build my own computers, and I was listening to what you were going through with a piece of equipment that was dying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I already donate to Republic Broadcasting, so I don't feel like I'm a traitor in any sense. But I
Oh, no.
feel like I need to be able to send some money to you guys so you can replace that piece of equipment. And so I didn't know how to do that, but then the person who directed, who answered the call initially at RBN said that you have a website, and I could do it that way.
Yeah, there's a PayPal link
I'm
there.
trying to
Now,
get-
the good news is I actually have an emergency computer.
I can't do a PayPal because I quit PayPal.
Well,
okay.
actually, a lot of people have done that.
Okay.
Listen, I appreciate the generosity, and I'll tell you, the honest truth is I actually have a computer already set up to drop in and replace this one because of all the failures that we're dealing with here. But this one is warning me that it's going to shut down here again. So, Mike, I think we're going to call it an end for today's show. Would you please put the music back on? Or a best of tape or something, because we don't want to impact John Stadmiller's
No,
program.
not at all.
I'm getting all these messages all over the screen saying it's about to shut down automatically, and I can't seem to get it to stop. And
Well, I'll use your email, whatever the thing is, and just to go ahead and do it that way.
all right, well, listen, thank you very much here, and I'll tell you what, Mike, we are going to keep on trying to do the show as long as possible until the machine quits again, but it is saying it is going to quit. So please, Claire, go
Okay.
ahead and finish your story.
All right. Apparently, the Saudi-led coalition has carried out a series of airstrikes in Yemen. And the statement was coalition aircraft targeted legitimate military positions at Al-Daimi Air Base, northeast of the capital, Sana'a. The coalition leadership said in a statement referring to the outskirts of Yemen's civilian international airport, which remains one of the few lifelines for the war-torn country. The coalition claimed that it targeted the launch site of ballistic missiles and drones, noting that overall more than 12 raids were carried out in the early hours of Friday, and insisting that no civilian infrastructure was targeted. Well, folks, forgive me, but for 3 years of lies and considering a school bus full of kids as legitimate targets, I'll be able to believe that when I see it. I really will. What I think is happening here is that there have been no official reports of casualties from the raids, which have come in the midst of a renewed UN-led peace effort, which is this time backed by the United States, finally. But local reports indicate that the raids are continuing no matter what the U.S. has asked for. Now, the youngest brother of Saudi Arabia's King Salman is returning from self-imposed exile to challenge Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman or find someone who can. Now, this comes to us from the Middle East Eye. Prince Ahmad bin Abdulaziz is reportedly hoping to throw his 33-year-old nephew out in the wake of an allegedly state-sanctioned murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And the prince has had virtual control over Saudi Arabia after a June 2017 shakeup in which King Salman removed Mohammed bin Nayef as heir apparent. Well, what this looks like to me, folks, is that the butcher of Yemen, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is desperately trying to solidify his position as top guy in the food chain over there and with the government before his uncle's attempts to replace him. I'd like to go over to Russia because this strikes me as a very strange story, and the timing couldn't be more weird. Apparently, U.S. military hackers have been given the go-ahead to gain access to Russian cyber systems if they are found meddling in 2018 elections, if that's confirmed. I think they're setting the stage to do that no matter what happens, if the elections get messed with or not. But they're going to use the alleged meddling with U.S. elections as the excuse, the reason to access Russian cyber systems, and that they feel are needed to let the plan unfold quickly.
Okay, we're basically this machine over here that runs the Twitch link. It is telling me it's going to shut down here any second. I don't know why. I'm just getting all these warning messages.
I see them, honey.
Yeah,
I know.
So Mike is going to play some music for the rest of the show, which is about 15 minutes. And I'm going to ask you to just enjoy the music, relax. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller.
Yes.
And I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Have yourselves a really good weekend. Please, obviously, donate. We need it. And Claire, I'll be back on Monday.
Yes.
So, aloha, America. And let's see. Let's go off on the video.